विधायिने चिदानन्द घन स्वात्म परमार्थावभासिने नमः शिवाय सततं पंचकृत्य विधायिने चिदानन्द घन स्वात्म परमार्थावभासिने. परं परस्थं गहनादनादिम् एकं निविष्टं बहुधा गुहासु सर्वालयं सर्वचराचरस्थम् त्वामेव शम्भुं शरणं प्रपद्ये. परं परस्थं गहनादनादिम् एकं निविष्टं बहुधा गुहासु सर्वालयं सर्वचराचरस्थं त्वामेव शम्भुं शरणं प्रपद्ये. परं
every shloka twice. Then it will. Agatha? Asmatrupa.
अस्मद्रूपसमाविष्टः स्वात्मनात्मनिवारणे शिवः करोतु निजया नमः शक्त्या तदात्मने. अस्मद्रूपसमाविष्टः स्वात्मनात्मनिवारणे शिवः करोतु निजया नमः शक्त्या तदात्मने.
Agatha? Yeah.
Agatha Sanshayam Bodhi first. Agatha Sanshayam Bodhi Samudtaranatarini Vande Vichitrarthapadam Chitram Tam Guru Bharati. Agadha Vishranti Paramadevi Kalopadhi Vivarjita Savikalpa Vikalpana Sarvasam Samvedalaya Vishranti Paramadevi Kalopadhi Vivarjita Savikalpa Vikalpana Sarvasam Samvedalaya.
Very good. Another one. But we don't have a Shivodata. Yeah, one more? So that tomorrow we can repeat them all and we learn them better. With Shivodata. This is also recited at mealtime.
Shivo Data, Shivo Bhokta, Shiva Sarvam Idam Jagat, Tasmat Shabdartha Chintasu Nasavasanaya Shiva Shivo Data Shivo Bhokta Shiva Sarvam Idam Jagat Tasmat Shabdartha Chintasu Nasavasanaya Shiva.
Before we continue with the text, the question about our so-called excursion or meditative walk. Now, I think that it is wonderful to be in nature, but as a meditation, I think it was not so successful as far as I could judge. So people were distracted, and so either we decide to just go for a walk and come back to meditate here, even if it is only half an hour. Otherwise, there's a lot of distraction. But what do you feel? I mean, what should we do today? Because tomorrow we're going to Bajnath temple, so that is already clear. And today, what is your wish? Just for, huh?
Could we go do the meditation first and go for a walk? Wouldn't it start at about 4?
Where?
Could we, I don't know how this is, could we do the meditation before we go for a walk and then come back and have dinner? Can we inverse the order? Instead of walk and meditation, can we do the meditation and then go for a walk?
I think we need some gap. I think it's not the ideal time. Ideal time is just before dinner. But I think before is not the best time. The question is where to go, how long to go. See, the walk is one occasion that's also many people want to talk to me and to have a talk while walking, because otherwise we are all the time sitting. So I think, Gitu, you guide us.
If we keep it upper road where we had the first
Yes, the first day, yes. But then we need a car. We go up to that bridge near your house with Argewala, the school Arge, that bridge. And from there it's a very straight walk. So it's ideal also if one wants to talk. One doesn't have to climb over rocks and things like that. Okay. So all the Karvalas are requested to accommodate as many as possible. So again, we are having only a quick cup of tea. We don't waste much time after the class. Yes, Daisy is very eager to go out. I can see from her face. We are nearing the end of the first Unmesha. And it was not so much intended, but it just happened that the sutra with which we began in the morning is also concerned about this great lake. And again, here we have that great lake at the end of this section. So what was preceding was that the attaining that perfection of the lordship over the wheel of energies by the rise of that pure knowledge or pure insight. Shuddha vidyudayat chakreshvaratva siddhi. And this is the highest. So leaving aside the limited powers, and this comes very close to Patanjali, the real siddhi or perfection or power to be attained is to be the Lord of the powers, Lord of this wheel of the energies. And the wheel of energies we have already talked about. It is both our own sense organs. It's what we actually heard at 11 o'clock, that was the hymn to the deities of the senses, and all the powers which are Shaktis and which have a center in that Chakresha, that Lord of the wheel. And immediately after attaining this siddhi, he says, Yadatu svatmarana tam eti ichati tada asya. When, however, he desires only delight of repose within himself, then he has Maharada Anusantanat Mantra Virya Anubhava. Atmarama is an expression which comes in the Upanishads, that enjoyment with one own self, or playing with one, even that there's Atma Krida also in the Upanishad, playing with one own self, that blissful state of being completely self-sufficient, satisfied, happy within oneself. Atmarama. Maharada Anusantanat Mantra Virya Anubhava. Again, Anusandhana. Sandhana, Anusandhana, these are the most important descriptions of what we have to do, that kind of awareness of that very consciousness which has opened that whole sutra, this Chaitanya Mahatma, this awareness on that consciousness. Mantra Virya Anubhava, the experience of the power of mantra arises by an awareness or concentration on the great lake, Maharada. Again, now he will explain what is meant by the great lake. Parapatarika Samvit Icha Shakti Pramukam Stula Meya Paryantam Vishvam Vamani. The Great Lake, of course it is consciousness, but it is the supreme energy. And Parapatarika Samvit, the great lady, the great Pataraka is a title of Shiva or of any deity, and Patarika is the title of the Devi. Patarika. And that great goddess Samvit, the great goddess consciousness. So she is the goddess, and she is the goddess Para. So those of you who have studied the Paratrishika, they are very well aware that Para is not just an adjective, but it is a specific tradition of the goddess Para, and she is that Anuttara, Anuttara Para, Samvit. And as we have seen in that sutra, Icha Shakti Uma Kumari, the primary expression of her is Icha Shakti Pramukam. And she is the one, and this is very interesting, we are speaking of the left Tantra, that is Vama. But Vama, it is mostly associated with the wrong things, which is not true. Vama is a goddess. And Vameshwari is one of the highest goddesses in this tradition. Vameshwari, and the root Vam means to, I'm sorry, you excuse me, but it is etymologically connected with to vomit. Vam, to emit outside. So she is the power who emits the whole universe out of her own self. Vam, to see. She is Vamani. She is the one who emits Vishvam, the universe, from Shiva down to the material reality, Stula Meya Paryantam, down to the material. So this supreme goddess, consciousness, let us see, the most venerable supreme consciousness, positing Icha Shakti as the primary Shakti, projecting the universe up to gross objects, is a great lake. But where's... Well, there comes something much more in between. What is that great lake? It is so called because it sets in motion the entire group of Kechari and other currents. I will just explain what it is. Because it is limpid, inasmuch as it reflects the entire universe in it, because it is not shrouded, because it is deep. See, Svachatva, Anavritatva, Gambhiratva. So why it is compared with a lake? Because it is clear. At that time there was not so much pollution in the Dal Lake. Now you cannot say anymore it is Svachata. It is clear, limpid, it is deep, and it is not shrouded by any malas or any impurities. So that is what we ideally dream of a lake to be, but we human beings have polluted everything. So that is why Dharma Yogan Maha Radha. It is deep. It is because of its association with such and other characteristics that it is rightly called the Great Lake. And Tasya Anusantanat. And by meditating or by focusing one's awareness on that supreme power, supreme energy, by introversion, antamukhataya, by introverted awareness. But he translates anusandhana as mentally united, that is also true. But by being mentally united or focusing or concentrating on it, that is by being inwardly aware, antamukhataya, of ceaseless identity with it, there is the experience of the mantra of the Supreme I Consciousness. Tatatmya vimarshanat. And now comes, what is this mantra virya? What is this potency of mantra? So the whole subject of mantra actually starts here. There's a lot on mantra afterwards, but we will not be able to go into the details. What we can do only is to see the specific approach of the Shiva Sutras and their commentaries on the essence of mantra. We cannot go into all the Sanskrit, Matrika, Malini, and so on, because the time is too short. But to become aware of the essence of mantra as understood in this tradition. These, at least 2-3 sutras we will see. And there is an implicit criticism of the ordinary understanding of mantra, which was necessary at that time, and it is necessary now, because mostly people have a wrong understanding of mantra, that it's just some syllables or some invocation or some to be repeated and so on. But here they go much deeper in what is the root, what is the essence of a mantra, and what is the potency of a mantra. That's why mantra virya is again and again stressed. Mantra has to be empowered, has to be potent, and not just a word, even if it may occur in some sacred agama and so on, but that is not sufficient. Mantra virya. Shabda rashis para atmaka para ahamta vimarsha mayasya mantra viryasya anubhava. Then occurs the experience of the power of mantra, which consists in vimarsha maya, which is consists in a. Now, vimarsha is another word which is used for reflective meditation or reflective awareness. It's not only in the metaphysical sense, a prakasha, vimarsha. Prakasha is the absolute light of consciousness, vimarsha is its reflection, prakasha is Shiva, and vimarsha is Shakti. But vimarsha is very much used for practice of awareness. And this I have experienced with Swamiji. He would just say, when he says, you meditate, vimarsh karo, which implies, of course, a kind of reflection also, but not a rational reflection, obviously. So this mantra virya consists of reflective awareness, vimarsha, of the supreme I consciousness, which is an unfoldment, shabdarashi spara, an unfoldment of the Shabdarashi. Now, Shabdarashi, we have 3 words for the totality of sounds, which can be the alphabet, that is matrika, as we had it before. Matrika is the natural Sanskrit alphabet. Of course, all these things which apply to Sanskrit can be, by extension, also applied to other languages. And Abhinavagupta makes it very clear, so it's not limited to Sanskrit. But of course, the whole speculation is based on Sanskrit. So Matrika, Malini are 2 kinds of alphabet, and the third term is Shabdarashi. Now, Shabdarashi is the totality of sounds, which is identical with Shiva, as Matrika and Malini are identical with the goddess, with Devi. And Shabdarashi is, insofar as the whole universe is an expression of that ultimate sound, that Vak, the Paravak, and so on. So Shabdarashi is the aspect of Shiva as the totality of sound or sounds. So this is the power of mantra is experienced as consisting of that reflective awareness of the Supreme I Consciousness, which consists of an spara, of an unfoldment of Shabdarashi, of the totality of sounds. So this is not the ordinary idea we have of mantra. It's a very deep conception of what mantra means. Para ahamta vimarsha. Now the Supreme I Consciousness is the power of mantra. See, mantra without I Consciousness is, as the text will quote one of those tantras saying, that it's like the autumn clouds which don't give any rain. It's powerless without that consciousness, which is the Supreme I Consciousness, para ahamta. Then Malini Vijaya the full verse is not there, but in the translation, in the Malini Vijaya Tantra, she is the Shakti of the Creator of the world and is said to be in constant and intimate union with Him and becomes, O Goddess, Icha of that Lord desirous to create. This is just about Icha Shakti, but not specific. And after showing, see in the Sanskrit it is in the middle after that quotation, after showing that this Shakti appears as the entire universe in the form of Matrika and Malini, alphabets, with a variety of 50 letters, with Icha Shakti taking the leading part, it has described the emergence of the mantra of I consciousness through that Shakti. Now, the mantra of I consciousness, again, those who have done the Paratrishika Vivarana, they are well aware that Aham, Aham is the basic mantra, which consists of A and Ha, so the first and the last letter of the alphabet, and with the nasalization, which constitutes the Trika, Shiva, Shakti, and Nara. So Aham is not just I, it is a mantra. And the opposite of Aham, or the back movement, return movement, is Maha-A. And the speculation on that is in the Paratrishika Vivarana. So the Supreme I Consciousness is contained in that mantra, Aham, which, being the first and last letter, embraces the whole alphabet and therefore embraces the whole universe, because the alphabet contains everything. Whether it is Matrika and Malini, but of course, Ha is at the end of Matrika, not of Malini.
In the alphabet, the last letter is Sh, no? So
No, yes, no, that is true. In the
I was confused by this. Why is Ha?
see, there are two plays that somebody called the Shiva's language game. Shiva's language game. One language game is Aha and Aham, because in the normal alphabet, Ha is the last akshar. But in the Tantric, it is Ksha. And then you have also Aksha. This is Akshamala. So Aksha, again, it refers to the beginning and the end of the alphabet. Akshamala means which from A to Ksha. It doesn't mean just I, but it also means I. But it means from A to Ksha, means again Alpha to Omega. The whole alphabet is contained. So both language games are there. Aksha and Aham. Thus, iti paraeva shaktir maharata. Thus, the highest Shakti herself is the great lake. Tata tat anusandhanat matrika malini satatva mantra virya anubhava iti yukta muktam. Therefore, it has been rightly said that by uniting the mind or by focusing one's awareness on her, the yogi has the experience of the potency of the mantra, of the nature of Matrika and Malini. And this quotation from the Spandakarika, I think we had it already. No, we didn't have it. Could I have the Spandakarika? No, this is it. Spandakarika 2:1. Yeah, tata kramya balam mantra sarvagnya balashalina pravartante adhikaraya karanani iva dehinam. Resorting to that power, the divinity's mantra, etc., together with the sacred formula which serve as their indicators, being endowed with the power of omniscience, proceed to carry out their assigned functions towards the embodied ones, just as the senses of the embodied ones, by resorting to the power of spanda, proceed to carry out their specific functions. So here, the mantras are said to have the power of omniscience. Sarvagnya Bala Shalina. And this is another, again, very strong definition of mantra. They have the power of omniscience. Because mantras, see, you will be surprised because mantra is not an object, mantra is a subject. See, mantras are the personifications of the divinity, respective deity. So they are not an object, you treat a mantra as an object which you can use, you can apply, you can do all kinds of things. But mantras are subjective. They embody the divinity which they express. And that is why they belong also to one of the levels of the subjects, mantra Maheshvara, mantra Mantreshvara, and so on. There's 7 levels of the experience. So mantras are subjects, they are not objects.
And what is about the bija mantras?
Which one?
Bija mantras.
Well, they can be bija, of course. It is not said which mantra. This is a general, of course they can be bija. So the whole thing is about the power of mantra which is experienced by a deep immersion into that great lake who is the supreme energy, who is Parashakti. So it is not less that power and that experience of the mantras.
There is this term Sarvagya Balshalini. Sarvagya Balshalini.
Yeah. Well, they have the capacity of omniscience. Mantras have.
This term, where it is.
This is from the Spandakarika. Spandakarika. Now, what I did not explain is Kechari. I do not want to burden you with too many concepts and too many theories, because we have a limited time to read as much as we can from the sutras, but there are many things which are implied, of course, which need much more time to explain. This whole theory of the Kechari, Bhuchari, Dikchari, and Gochari, and so on. These levels of the Shaktis. I don't think we have the time to go into this. And on the whole, I mean that what we can do here is not a question of quantity, of how many sutras we can read or whether we can read. Definitely we cannot read the whole, but to get an access to that spirituality and to that understanding through at least a good selection of mantras, I say now, of sutras. So I don't think we can aim at any quantitative, because it will overburden you with too many ideas. So I want to be selective in the second and third section. But since we have already the theme of mantra, we should take the first sutra of the second section. And then not go into all the details of mantra. That would require a special seminar, I would say.
This second section was also found inscribed on the rock. The second section was also found inscribed.
Yeah, of course, the whole text, definitely. I mean, the division into sections, that was surely later. They were doing it, maybe only the commentators. I don't think Vasugupta made any division of sections. And especially the attribution of the sections to the three upayas, that is what Kshemaraja has done. And we follow his interpretation, but as it is almost impossible to understand the sutras in themselves, so we do need his commentary. So according to this interpretation of Kshemaraja, the second section is devoted to Shaktopaya. Now you have that list of the 4 stages in that whole table. So Shaktopaya, you can see it corresponds to jnana, to knowledge. And in Shaktopaya, the first section which was devoted to Shambhavopaya, which is beyond thought, beyond activity, which is, as the Malanivija Tantra says, akinchit chintakasya, when the completely thought-free state. But at the level of Shaktopaya, thought plays a role. After all, we are not able to eliminate our thoughts all at once, unless we have that, Udyamo Bhairava, which just happens and which just takes hold of us, and without any of our, doings. But after all, we are so much determined by our thoughts, and we have to do something with them. So Vikalpa is here not an obstacle, but it is a means. So everything in Tantra, actually, everything becomes a means. It depends on the level on which you are or where you are starting your journey. So from the activity, any activity, and thoughts. Now, vikalpa becomes a means in the level of Shaktopaya. But not any vikalpa, not any thought, because we know how many distractive thoughts are going on in our mind. But what is called Shuddha vikalpa, a pure thought. So a pure thought that you start your meditation or your bhavana from one thought, which then you can, from that thought you can proceed to the thought-free state. So pure thoughts are, of course, based on the agamas or on the teaching of the guru, and so if the guru tells you something, this is like a revelation, and you use that as a pure thought on which you meditate, which you start your meditation. So this is Shaktopaya. And that is why the first sutra also refers to the mind, to thought, chitta. Now this is very common, of course. Chitta is a very common word for mind, but mind as the basis of thoughts, as the containing thoughts. Now, of course, Yoga Sutra we know very well, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, but so Chitta is can be both ways. It can be disturbing, distracting, and it can also become a means to, yeah.
Discursive mind would be a description.
Yes.
Chitta,
Yeah.
discursive mind.
Yes. 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 So the introduction to this chapter, Idanim Shaktopaya Pradashite. Now here the Shaktopaya is being described. In the last section, last sutra of the first section, it was pointed out that Shakti signifies the expansion of the potency of mantra. The second section, starting with an examination of mantra, first ascertains its essential characteristic. Chittam mantra. And here again, with almost all the sutras which consist only of two words, you can have two opposite interpretations. And that makes the beauty and variety of these interpretations. Mind is mantra. Either the mind is mantra or mantra is the mind. So you can have it both ways. Now, in this sutra, there are two understandings of the mind, and both are divine. This is Swamiji. The first understanding is that the mind is the thought of a sacred word. The second understanding is that mind is the thought of a sacred aspirant who is treading on the sacred path. Chitta means the thought of a sacred word. This thought is said to be the exposition of mantra. Mantra therefore means sacred word. Sacred word is also the rise of words and sentences in the internal mind of the aspirant. So mantra is, in that sense, chitta, the mind of the sadhaka, is mantra because he becomes also, his mind becomes the origin of mantra. And that will come in the third section when it says katha japa. See, whatever that fully realized yogi utters, whatever he says, that becomes a japa, that becomes a mantra. And there is that beautiful hymn by Abhinavagupta, Anubhava Nivedana, where it says, whatever word comes from his mouth is a mantra. Whatever gesture, natural gesture he performs is a mudra. And so it's very beautiful. The natural expression of that Mahayogi, everything becomes a mantra and a mudra and a kriya and so on. So that is why the mind of the yogi also is the source of mantra. I'm just quoting Swamiji. This is also mantra because this aspirant, like a sacred word, is absolutely purified inside and outside. So the aspirant's mind is mantra, and the sacred word is also mantra. Now he gives a very high definition of chitta. Now chitta can be, of course, also a lower aspect of the mind, but here he gives a high definition when he says, Chityati vimrishyati anena param tattvam iti chittam. Chitta means that by which one reflects on the supreme reality. That organ through which you reflect on the supreme reality. Param tattvam. Chitta is that which ponders over the highest reality. In other words, it is consciousness that ponders over prasada, pranava, and other mantras. Now, these are technical words. Pranava is well known, but pranava is not only Om. Pranava can be any monosyllabic fundamental mantra like Hrim, Hum, and some of these bija mantras, they can also be called pranava. So it's not necessarily, but Om is common, general for every tradition. It is not bound by any particular deity or tradition. So that's pranava. Prasada is a technical term for another bija mantra. Now the beautiful definition of mantra that by which one deliberates secretly or ponders inwardly as being non-different from the highest Lord is mantra. Ataivacha paraspurata atmaka manana dharma atmanata bhedamaya samsara. No. Mantriyati, Guptam, yes. Abhedena vimrishyate, on which one reflects in a non-dual way, as being non-different from Parameshvara Rupam, non-different from the highest Lord. That is mantra. And thus that chitta itself is mantra, means that reflection or that reflecting agency which reflects on the non-difference from the Supreme Lord, that itself is mantra. Now, on page 83, the second para, the definition, Atacha mantra devata vimarsha paratvena prapta tat samarasyam aradaka chittam eva mantra. The mind of the devotee intent on intensive awareness of the deity inherent in the mantra acquires identity with the deity and thus becomes that mantra itself. Now, this is the essence. See, because mantra embodies a deity, and by this intensive awareness, vimarsha, he attains that union of essence, samarasya, with the deity who is expressed in the mantra. So the three merge, the mind of the aspirant, the deity and the mantra. They become one. Aradhaka chittam eva. So that mind which is that aradhaka, which is, how do you say aradhaka? It is this mind itself which is mantra, not a mere conglomeration of various letters. So here the whole criticism of a superficial understanding of mantra. Natu vichitra varna sanghatana nama matrakam. So he places that mantra at the highest level and at the level where it is identical with the mind of the one who meditates on it or who contemplates, and with the deity whom that mantra is expressing. And then he gives again some quotations. Those are not really mantras which are only a matter of enunciation. Elated with the pride of false knowledge, even devas and gandharvas are deluded in this matter. So this wrong understanding of mantras has a very old history. And the Tantra Sadbhava, this is Savajñanottara. She, who is considered to be the imperishable Shakti, is the soul of all mantras. O fair one, without her, they are useless like autumnal clouds. So this is that image which comes again and again. So it's only that Shakti who gives that power to the mantra. Mantranam Jiva Bhuta, so Yasmita Shakti Ruttama. Jiva Bhuta, she gives life to the mantras. And in the Srikanti Samhita, if the practicer of the mantra is different from the mantra, then his mantra will never be successful. So if that subject-object dichotomy persists, that here I am the reciter and here is the mantra which I am reciting, that will never be successful. Knowledge alone is the root of all this. Without it, a mantra will never be successful. So here, what is stressed is the importance of the union of the mind of the practitioner with the mantra and with the deity. So as I said, I wouldn't like to go into detail. In any case, I think our time. Are we? Not this.
Counterclockwise it runs. Yeah, it runs counterclockwise.
Svatantra, no, Svatantra.
All these are counterclockwise clocks.
Yeah, I think then we should leave it at those two sutras because they both deal with mantra, and it's better to stick to one theme. And then tomorrow I will come to some a little easier a very beautiful sutras, leaving aside the technicalities of the mantra, because that would also require that all of you know Sanskrit and this and that. So, but there are others which one can approach more easily without the technicalities. Okay, then we will meet at 4 near the gate.